Greetings and welcome to the next installment of my Minecraft map history. This installment will be for the months of July 2011, 2012, and 2013. So let's jump right in and let's see some of the maps that I have played in the past 3 years in the month of July. The first map that I want to highlight is called You Got Schooled. This was a map that I played in 2011. In fact, I played 31 maps in 2011. You Got Schooled is by 0G3651 and White Knight 001. What I really enjoyed about this is one of the first maps. It's not the first maps, but it's definitely one of the first maps that I played with a texture pack set in the modern day. Now, this is what I would call an escape map. It's an adventure map with a genre of escape, and you're escaping a high school, and it was really great. The texture pack really brought the high school to life. It was a fairly short map when I played it back in one of the original versions, and I thought that the escapes at that time were very clever. I recommended this map to my good friends at the Shaft podcast, who also recorded it. And I think since then it's actually been recorded by a couple big channels. But if you enjoyed your time in high school, or if you would like to get revenge on your time in high school, I would definitely recommend this one. The next map that I played in the month of July 2011 was the Monarch of Madness by my friend Darko Hexar. And this was also an escape map, but it definitely had a psychological bent to it in addition to your typical traps and puzzles in the room. It was very nice. I felt when I played it that I got really swept up into the madness on a really awesome scale, and I can only imagine the effort that went into it way back then, before we had all the tools that we have today for map making. I loved the way that the author circled the player around through different puzzles and back to a central pillar. This is one of the first maps where I started to realize that sort of complex navigation was a lot of fun in a map where you keep coming back to a central point in slightly different ways. There were a decent number of jumping puzzles. Anyway, that's what I have written in my notes that I said I wasn't a big fan of even back in 2011, but they didn't seem to be a huge problem. So I would have played this one, I think, before there was sprint jumping. And I will tell you, when I was playing through this map, one thing that surprised me was when it ended. And I somehow thought that this was going to be about twice as long as it actually was, which isn't an issue. It just means I was so caught up in the story that it suddenly ended, and I was like, oh, I want more. I think Darko Hexar has updated it since then, and I would definitely recommend checking it out. It is a really nice classic. The next map that I played in July of 2011 didn't score quite as high on my overall ranking, but it's one of my personal favorites. It's also a map that had a texture pack, and back then, we didn't have nearly as many blocks, we didn't have nearly as many contraptions that we could do, but a guy named Minecraft put together 2 maps, and the one that I'm highlighting here is called Egypt, and the texture pack really brought out the feeling of being in ancient Egypt. I thought it was gorgeous. A lot of simple puzzles in this map, but very clever triggers, several that I hadn't seen before at the time. I remember one point where you use a bucket of water to trigger some sand to fall, revealing this staircase in a really cool effect. It's got a bit of an open world feel to it, and it doesn't really have, or at least when I first played it, it didn't have like a strong storyline. You're given some general directions, and you have to kind of figure out how to get to the puzzles and then into the temples, which really are the puzzles. And I think, there could have been some side quests or a little bit more hand-holding of the player. But what really stands out in my mind in this map is that texture pack. Also, right before I played Egypt, I played another map by Minecraft, which was called The Lost Manuscript, and that was set in feudal Japan with pink trees, and that one had a lot more of a storyline, um, but it was really cool from a texture perspective as well. Okay, and the last map that I'm going to highlight out of the 31 that I played in July 3rd, 2011 is become a bit of a Minecraft meme. Thanks again to the guys at the Shaft Podcast, The Quest for Gallell. So this was one of the first maps that I scored super low. In fact, I gave this one a 6 out of 20. And the only reason it didn't get a 5 is because I couldn't set my challenge ranking to too hard. It was actually too easy. This map was never finished. It has a ridiculous number of spelling mistakes and sort of very simple half-build. Um, According to the map author who posted this under Gistop, claims that his little brother created the map and he put it out there, but I don't know. There's sort of a underlying suspicion that that's not true, and he was just embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed about your map, no matter how good or bad it is. You spent the time putting it out there. It was played by a big channel, and it has become a meme for Minecraft, and you can't really get any better than that. So let's fast forward a whole year to July of 2012. Now, apparently, I was a little busier that month because I only reviewed 9 maps, and I'm going to talk about 2 of them here. The first one I'm going to talk about is Final Fantasy II by 3-2. This is a Complete the Monument map, a CTM map, and this was one of my first, I almost said natural 20. This is one of my first rating of a 20 in a CTM map, because 3-2, first of all, put some epic scaled builds in this map. It's very gorgeous to look at. The difficulty is pretty consistently hard right off the get-go. The navigation is very complex, and it doesn't. My favorite thing about it is it's not one of these CTM maps where you're always stuck inside of a set of caves or inside of a building. Almost all of the areas are outdoors and feel wide open, yet you can very, very easily find the pathing to them without getting lost in the wider world. And I really enjoyed this. 3-2 is currently in 2014. He's working on Final Fantasy III, which is definitely going to be on my list to play. I played Final Fantasy II with a friend who I met at Minecon. His name is Thungon. He's kind of famous for his PvP, race for rule type maps, as well as CTMs, and he's just a really great guy. And then the second map that I'm going to talk about out of the 9 that I played in July 2012 is The Walls. This is the original Walls, and this is by Hypixel. Basically, you've got 4 quadrants, and you have a timer to build and gather what you can in your quadrant before the walls drop and the PvP fun begins. So this is a classic PvP map. In fact, this map is really what catapulted Hypixel to the attention that they have today. And it still holds up. I still see many versions of The Walls on different multiplayer servers in this day and age. All right, closing in on the last July that I'm going to talk about this year is 2013, in which I reviewed 10 maps. I'm going to talk about 4 of them. I really enjoyed all 4 of these maps, the first being Melody by Thalazar. Thalazar is another map maker friend of mine, and he tends to want to take a story with a serious subject and then create it in Minecraft and really capture the emotional feel of that subject. And he does a really nice job of it. So here, Thalazar wraps this story in a set of clever puzzles. And I really liked how certain plot devices were built into the map from the very beginning, and their importance is slowly revealed over time. So there were 3 points in this map where I was really challenged by the puzzles and had to kind of figure out how to exit. Um, and also, I love the fact, as I mentioned with Monarch of Madness, I love the fact when a puzzle or a navigation will take you back through a previous area, sort of that loop back and allow you to do something in that area that you had overlooked previously to proceed. I love that pretzel sort of navigation in a map. Um, I think the other thing I will say, the visuals were really great, and it mirrors the attitude of the main character in each chapter. So I think this map works on multiple levels, and there is a new map by Thalazar that I've been waiting to play for a while. I'm planning to play it with Q Magnet. As soon as our schedules match up, we've both been working on pretty hefty projects this year, but Thalazar, Melody, great map, and thank you again for building it. The next one I'll talk about is one of my favorite LPs in Minecraft, Red Dead Redstone by D1280. And the map itself basically takes, I think it's an Xbox exclusive, maybe on PlayStation 2, a game called Red Dead Redemption, which is set in the Wild West, and you are a character who is basically basically going through your life and doing all these side quests as a cowboy, if you will. When I say cowboy, I don't necessarily mean desert. I mean plains, and I mean prairies, and a little bit of desert. And it's a really, really nice adaptation of the game. Um, it is Red Dead Redemption is actually the only game that I personally own on Xbox. My son has an Xbox with tons and tons of games. This is the only one I have owned personally and played. It's a very good build. It also has a texture pack which has rifles and other items that really add to the flavor of the world. There's a lot of riding back and forth on horses between the towns in somewhat self-directed quests because it is an open world. But the main storyline is pretty well planned, and I'm not sure if it mirrors the actual game, but the road signs and the map really help you go around and find what you need. I also like, the in-game maps that kind of help you in an open world situation. So if you're at all interested in sort of a cowboy themed map, check out Red Dead Redstone. If you want to see me role play the entire map in character, you can check out that LP on my channel as well. Alright, so moving on, we've got 2 more maps to talk about in the month of July 2013. The first being Phantom Protocol by the Ender Slayer 5 and the Potato Slayer. I was looking for a map that I could play solo as Agent Steel. Agent Flint and Agent Steel are part of my Dads Are Funny, or part of my ongoing Secret Agent adventure series with Dads Are Funny. And I wanted to find a map that would give me a solo experience and be the background or the prequel to that series with Dads Are Funny. I wanted to get something which was Agent Steele's first mission, and I chose this map, Phantom Protocol, because of the forum post. It just looked really cool to me. And unfortunately, what I found out was that the map is a to be continued. It was a very short map, less than a half hour, and it was part 1 of a longer series. But I really, really was impressed with not only the visual build, which was simple, but very convincing for a modern day build, and the way that the redstone and everything was worked in. It felt very good to me. I have played the second map in the series, and I'm eagerly anticipating the third so that I can complete that LP series. But Phantom Protocol, even though it didn't score super high on my rating list, it has a special place in my heart. Last but not least, the map I want to talk about in July of 2013 is The Code to Infinite by Jesper the End. if you've seen this map, and if you're watching this channel, or if you watch other people who do Minecraft LPs, you've probably seen this map. It's a puzzle map, it's an escape map, and it contains some special effects that completely blew me away. I'm not going to spoil any of it here. I played it, I think, on a live stream, so my LP, the video quality is not that great. But I went back after the live stream to replay certain portions of it and record it so I could mix that in with the live stream, because the special effects are so good. You just have to see them. It's a tricky map. It's a really tricky puzzle. It's one of these puzzle maps where you don't get any instructions. You have to figure out what to do based on the way the world interacts with you. Yes, not necessarily how you interact with the world, because that's obvious, but the world detects you as you move around and changes, and the navigation is not linear as you would expect. It is quite good, and it has gotten, just for the end, quite a bit of attention, which is so awesome. I think he is a guy that A, creates amazing things, and B, he does a really nice job of putting out a video to highlight his stuff in a super entertaining way. So check out Just for the End. Check out the Code 2. I have a feeling the Code 3 is in production, but even if it's not, Jesper is participating in the creation of Diversity 2. So you'll be able to see some Jesper flavor coming up in the near future. So that's it of the 50 maps that I recorded, played, and rated in the Julys of 2011, 2012, and 13. That was a brief highlight of some of the ones that stand out in my mind. I would love to hear in the comments what maps you are playing this month, July of 2014. I'm going to be playing a few maps this month, a little bit more than I played in June, and I am in the process of building a custom map from scratch in my Color of Infinity series. Won't say much more about that here, but I hope you do go and check that out. And thanks again for all of your support through these years of playing maps.